Hello, on this podcast, you are listening to Dr. Shushma Singh. Today, we are going to start Chapter 8 Regional Aspirations. We know about the process of national building in the first decade after independence, but national building is not something that can be accomplished once and for all times to come. In the course of time, new challenges came up. Some of the old problems had never been fully resolved. As democratic experiment unfolded, people from different regions began to express their aspirations for autonomy. Sometimes these aspirations were expressed outside the framework of the Indian Union. These involved long struggles and often aggressive and armed assertions by the people. This new challenge came to the fore in the 1980s as the Janta experiment came to an end and there was some political stability at the center. This decade will be remembered for some major conflicts and accords in the various regions of the country, especially in Assam, the Punjab, Mizoram, and the developments in Jammu and Kashmir. In this chapter, we study these cases so as to ask some general questions like which factor contribute to the tensions arising out of national aspirations? How has the Indian state responded to these tensions and challenges? What kind of difficulties are faced in balancing democratic rights and national unity? And what are the lessons here for achieving unity with diversity in the democracy? Let us start with the topic region and the nation. 1980 may be seen as the period of rising regional aspirations for autonomy, often outside the framework of the Indian Union. These movements frequently involved armed assertions by the people, their repression by the government, and a collapse of the political and electoral processes. It is also not surprising that most of these struggles were long drawn and concluded in negotiated settlements or accords between the central government and the groups leading the movements for autonomy. The accords were reached after the process of dialogue that aimed to settle contentious issues within the constitutional framework. Yet the journey to the accord was always tumultuous and often violent. Now let us discuss Indian approach. In studying the Indian Constitution and the process of national building, we have repeatedly come across one basic principle of Indian approach to diversity. The Indian nation shall not deny the rights of different regions and linguistic groups to retain their own culture. We decided to live a united social life without losing the distinctiveness of the numerous cultures that constituted it. Indian nationalism sought to balance the principles of unity and diversity. The nation would not mean the negation of the region. In this sense, the Indian approach was very different from the one adopted in many European countries, where they saw cultural diversity as a threat to the nation. India adopted a democratic approach to the question of diversity. Democracy allows the political expressions of regional aspirations and does not look upon them as anti national. Besides, democratic politics allows parties and groups to address the people on the basis of their regional identity, aspiration, and specific regional problems. Thus, in the course of democratic politics, regional aspirations get strengthened. At the same time, democratic politics also means that regional issues and problems will receive adequate attention and accommodation in the policy making process. Such an arrangement may sometimes lead to the tensions and problems. Sometimes the concern for national unity may overshadow the regional needs and the aspirations. At other times, a concern for region alone may blind us to the larger needs of the nation. Therefore, political conflict over issues of power of the regions, their rights, and their separate existence are common to nations that want to respect diversity while trying to forego and retain unity. Now, what are the areas of tension? We have seen how immediately after the independence our nation had to cope with many difficult issues like partition, displacement, integration of princely states, reorganization of states, and so on. Many observers, both within the country and from outside, had predicted that India as one unified country cannot last long. Soon after independence, the issue of Jammu and Kashmir came up. It was not only a conflict between India and Pakistan, more than that, it was a question of political aspirations of the people of Kashmir Valley. Similarly, in some parts of the northeast, there was no consensus about being a part of India. First, Nagaland and then Mizoram witnessed strong movements demanding separation from India. In the south, some groups from the Dravid movement briefly toyed with the idea of a separate country. These events were followed by mass agitations in many parts of the formation of linguistic states. Today's Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Maharashtra, and Gujarat were among the regions affected by these agitations. In some parts of the southern India, particularly Tamil Nadu, there were protests again making Hindi the official national language of the country. In the north, there were strong pro Hindi agitations demanding that Hindi be made the official language immediately. From the late 1950s, people speaking the Punjabi language started agitating for a separate state for themselves. This demand was finally accepted, and states of Punjab and Haryana were created in 1966. Later, the states of Chandigarh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, and Uttaranchal now Uttarakhand, were created. Thus, the challenge of diversity was met by redrawing the nation internal boundaries of the country. Yet, this did not lead to resolution of all problems and for all time. In some regions like Kashmir and Nagaland, the challenges were so complex that it could not be resolved in the first phase of nation building. Besides, new challenges came up in the state like Punjab, Assam, and Mizoram. The successes and failures in these cases are instructive and also for an understanding of India's future. Let us close today's lecture here. Thanks for being an attentive listener.